So hello everyone. Today I'm speaking to Mr. Sachin Chugh, the hydrogen lead for India at ARUP UK. Earlier, Sachin was at the Indian Oil Research and Development Center, playing a pivotal role in the organization's growth in the field of hydrogen energy and fuel cells. So hydrogen is increasingly seen as a crucial decarbonization option for a wide range of sectors. And India has set a goal to produce 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen annually by 2030. So in this interaction with Sachin, we aim to get an overview and Sachin's expert insights into the current state of hydrogen infrastructure in India, as well as the opportunity and challenges ahead. Hi, Sachin. Thank you so much for making time for this today. Welcome to EV Reporter Podcast.
Thank you, Priyakshi, for this.
Thank you so much. So let's get started. So I'll start with the basic preliminary question of if you could help us understand the importance of hydrogen in India's energy landscape. We'll start with that.
Yeah, so in our journey of where emissions are always seen as at the crossroads of growing economy, uh, the dissociation of the environmental impact of the fossil fuels with the economic growth, that has been the challenge which the mankind has been facing forever.
Mhm.
Now, under this challenge, what we have started doing is that over a period of age, we have started moving from the fuels which were having higher carbon to hydrogen ratio to the options which have the lower carbon to hydrogen ratio. And under this belt, we started migrating from wood to coal, and from coal to the likes of the gasolines and the diesels driven by crude oil. Moving on, the journey continued to natural gas, but still the impact of the carbon dioxide emissions in the environment, which are being released due to the combustion process, are enormous. And that's why mankind is in a need where we don't now can afford any bit of carbon dioxide in the environment, and that's where the role of hydrogen comes into picture. Now, whatever we are seeing currently, this wave of hydrogen is not a new one. We have seen earlier waves of hydrogen, uh, but what those waves were missing were two aspects. One is the technological depth it carries now, and that was not there earlier, and the spectrum of utilization or applications, if I may say, that was not envisaged earlier. So hydrogen actually fits the bill. Although it's a zero emission fuel, it actually leads to the decarbonization of so many sectors which are very hard to abate, we may call them. And that's where the other technologies, they struggle to enter or make inroads into those sectors. I am talking particularly from the sectors such as the refineries or the steels or the fertilizers, barring the transport. And that this holistic picture or holistic nature of hydrogen molecule actually enables to link and act as a very productive method to establish or to take the advantage of all these sectors coming together, and thereby moving on the environmental platter where a one-stop solution can be provided by this tiny molecule. So that's why hydrogen is very important. Having said that, there are many challenges associated across hydrogen, which as an industry we must come together and try to meet and overcome those barriers, so that we can see or we can realize the actual objectives and the envisaged advantages on the ground.
Understood. So we understand currently also hydrogen is being used in India in oil refineries and ammonia production, but it may not necessarily be green hydrogen that is being used right now. So I want to understand from you what is the current demand for hydrogen like in India, and where is this demand being met? What is the source of procuring this hydrogen at the moment?
So if you see the sectoral division of the demand for hydrogen, the two sectors stand out of all the other ones, and those are the refining sector, where hydrogen is used as a uh, as a as a utility, where we want to desulfurize the fuel products in order to meet the stringent Bharat stage norms, and they can be done from variety of processes. Uh, Hydroprocessing is one aspect where you actually produce hydrogen in the refineries, and that hydrogen is actually used to desulfurize the petroleum products. Hydrotreating is another way of looking at it, and both these processes are rigorously followed in all the oil refineries to get the desired quality of the product slate. Now, the second most important sector is the fertilizer sector. And India being the agrarian country, the requirement of hydrogen there is also humongous. And these two sectors, combined with the multiple other sectors like the steels, like the chemicals, like the food and the beverages, vegetable oils, glass industry, all these combined together to have a demand of somewhere around 6 to 7 million metric tons of hydrogen in the country. Now, having said that, there are some processes which are producing in situ hydrogen, and I am particularly referring to the refineries. And that's where while the demand is about 6 to 7 million metric ton, the actual requirement from the production point of view would be little lower, because we are generating some in situ hydrogen in the processes which may not be required to be produced externally. But whatever is the percentage or whatever is the volume which is required, it is currently being produced from the fossil fuels, primarily from the natural gas and little bit of naphtha, which we are using in the oil refineries. Now, to produce 1 kg of hydrogen from natural gas, we follow a process of steam methane reforming, and it emits about 10 to 12 kgs of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And until and unless this carbon dioxide is arrested, or what I mean is it is captured, the impact of hydrogen production is on the environment is tremendous, and that's where the whole world is looking to translate or transform this particular hydrogen with two ways. One is completely to shift the narrative away from the fossil fuels, that is, do away with the natural gas, and that's where the terminology of green hydrogen comes into picture. Or the other way is, whatever carbon dioxide is being produced from the likes of natural gas reforming, you try to capture that carbon dioxide and then maybe store it, which probably might not be an effective medium or effective pathway for the country like India. The best part is to utilize it. So therefore, the world is trying to devise the technologies, develop the solutions where the utilization of carbon dioxide, or we may call it as the valorization of that molecule, can be done, so that it should be a win-win situation. So in a nutshell, these are the pathways which we are following. Currently, natural gas is the mainstay of hydrogen production. But in countries like China, they are heavily dependent on coal gasification. Again, that process is a carbon intensive process, and therefore require a lot of infusion in terms of, or augmentation in terms of how you are going to capture that particular carbon dioxide molecule which is going to be emitted by those plants.
Understood. Right. So, like, we know that we have a goal of producing 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen starting by 2030 annually. So, what is the current production of green hydrogen like? Is there infrastructure, any nascent infrastructure in the country at the moment to do that?
Yeah, so green hydrogen per se is the terminology when we start integrating the green energy, or we call it as the renewable energy. It might come from the solar side, or the wind, or the hybrid model of solar and wind. And to some effect, biomass is also included in that aspect. And then try to use that electrical energy to split the water molecule to get hydrogen and oxygen. And since there are no carbon footprints attached to the complete cycle of production, that's why the term green has been associated with this pathway. However, as of now, there are multiple electrolyzers which are operating on ground, not only in India but across the globe. But most of them, or all of them per se, are actually operating from the electricity which is being produced or being taken from the national grids. Now, so the intensity of the carbon dioxide, or intensity of carbon intensity of hydrogen production, actually it depends upon the grid intensity in turn. And so, if effectively speaking, 100% renewable energy powering an electrolyzer. So we are not having any commercial plants running here in India, or there are very few across the world also. Uh, the translation of that particular energy to the electrolyzer actually gives us a significant challenge in terms of addressing the intermittency of the renewable power and trying to integrate it with round the clock operation of the electrolyzers. And that's where the world is trying to find various solutions how to overcome these particular barriers. So to answer your question, not many commercial projects on the ground in India, but definitely there are few in the pipelines which are set to be active in a period of about a year or 2 years, and thereby we will be having green hydrogen molecules being produced here in this country. But as of now, we are living on the electrolyzers which are operating on grid electricity.
Okay, I see. So can you help us understand in terms of economic viability of producing and using green hydrogen? So what is the current cost in today's technology of producing green hydrogen? And what are the critical factors that impact the commercial viability of producing and then using green hydrogen for energy intensive processes, like we said, steel and ammonia and oil refineries?
So if I particularly and try to address the Indian situation, there has been a lot of talk around the availability of cheap solar power here in this country, and that can be translated to split the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen, and therefore lead to the production of green hydrogen. Having said that, the entire ecosystem, if we try to connect the dots between the entire ecosystem, we are looking at setting up of the renewable energy plants. We are again looking at transmitting that electricity to the point of use where the electrolyzers are going to be installed, and they're producing hydrogen. And then post production, then if the usage is for the industrial sector, like we discussed earlier about in the refineries, or for the fertilizers, or maybe the steel industry, then we don't require a pressure boosting stage in between. So straight away that particular hydrogen can be diverted to the process for which it is intended to be. However, if the end application requires some kind of bottling and transportation facilities to take that hydrogen from the point of generation to the point of usage, you need to build up the pressure to a certain aspect. And hydrogen being a very light molecule with a very low volumetric energy density, we need to compress it to little higher pressures. And that calls for extra bit of cost and extra bit of impact on the net energy consumption. Also, there is another aspect. If we require to use that particular hydrogen for the mobility application, the kind of onboard storage challenges which we can have with hydrogen, we need to boost the pressure a little bit further. So we are talking of about 350 bars of pressure to be built up, and based on that, the gaseous hydrogen can be stored in the compressed form in the cylinders, just like we are storing natural gas in the vehicles. And so therefore, if we only talk of the production cost of hydrogen, of green hydrogen at this point of time, considering the availability of the solar power, we can say a figure of about $5 to $6 per kg is what we are going to have at this moment. But it doesn't include any storage cost, post production, and any transportation and delivery and compression cost. So depending upon the requirements and the distances of transportation, the net delivered cost would be somewhere around $8 to $9 per kg. And this is where the entire world is actually working upon how to bring that cost down to to maybe the diesel parity or the natural gas parity price, so that the economic viability can be associated with the entire hydrogen business model.
Right. So we basically what we're saying is production close to source will always be easier to commercialize rather than having to travel long distances.
You are absolutely right. We don't want to move the molecule too much, because that will incur a lot of cost. Having said that, so it's a question of, again, movement of the electron happening or the movement of the molecule happening. So yes, there is a trade-off between them. And again, another set of trade-off is the addressing the intermittent nature of the renewable energy production, and how to link it with the continuous operation of the electrolyzer. So that calls for a very fine balance and optimization of the entire scheme of things, so that we can have the green hydrogen molecule available at the right price for the end consumer industry. But having said that, the price of the hydrogen, in a way, is linked with the price of the primary feedstock, which is getting used to produce that hydrogen. Because we have to understand that hydrogen is not a primary fuel. It's a secondary energy conversion which is happening to derive the hydrogen molecule. Although in nature people say that a lot of hydrogen is available, but it is always available in a combination form. Like in water, we are having hydrogen associated with the oxygen. So in order to extract virgin hydrogen out of that molecule, we have to apply the energy in order to split the water molecule and get virgin hydrogen. Now, in natural gas also, so that virgin molecule can be extracted by the way of steam reforming, where we supply steam along with natural gas, and at a particular high temperature, those reactions are taking place to get hydrogen and carbon monoxide. Again, that carbon monoxide has to be separated. So what I'm trying to drive is the primarily current hydrogen price actually depends upon the feedstock price, what we are getting. And if it is natural gas, then the international prices of natural gas are going to govern what is the price of hydrogen, which we are going to have here in this country. In case of green hydrogen, it would be the price of the renewable energy and the cost of the electrolyzers that are going to impact the final price of the green hydrogen molecule.
Understood. That's very well explained. Thank you. So, like you mentioned that transmission storage will make a significant part of what the end hydrogen cost will be. But at the same time, when we talk about the National Green Hydrogen Mission, the focus is on green hydrogen production and also create hydrogen at a large scale and also create export opportunities for hydrogen. So can you help us understand how, when we say first the cost is a challenge and then transmission is another added considerable challenge, at the same time talking about export. So how will these different things come together?
Yes, you are You are absolutely correct. So we have to see it in a holistic manner. Uh, there are countries which are having the potential to produce hydrogen, but they are short of the renewable energy sources. So the question is, if they are not having the renewable energy, they have to bring that electron from somewhere outside. So they have to set up huge transmission lines across the seas to get electricity and then produce hydrogen if they want to use it for their domestic demand. India is blessed with the renewable energy sources and primarily the solar and the wind. So what we, and incidentally, we are able to produce and utilize the solar energy at the cheapest price. And we are having one of the lowest rates in across the world in terms of the green electricity which we are able to produce. Now, leveraging that green electricity for the production of green hydrogen molecule, it actually calls for a technology on the electrolyzers front. And we believe that with the Indian manufacturing industry coming into picture and the cheaper renewable energy which is already available, this kind of blend would be absolutely optimal when we are optimal to actually support our ambitions to export hydrogen to the external market. Yes, over and above that, there would be transmission costs added, but then we have to, so this is going to be a very fine calculation based on how the other countries are going to arrange the green electricity molecule electron and vis-a-vis India transporting from here. So that's where the Indian industry has to chip in and do some fine calculations to make them understand what are the possible geographies for them to address and meet the green hydrogen demand.
Understood. So, what do you think are the current challenges that the industry is working on in order to um, make large-scale green hydrogen production in India and also, of course, export? So, what are the immediate challenges that need to be solved, and what are the long-term solutions that we need to make it all a reality?
Yeah, challenges are plenty in a sense that we have to harmonize the system, the ecosystem, so that we can take the advantages of what we are perceiving low renewable energy cost and how we can relate it with or associate it with the indigenization of the electrolyzer technology in this country. And when we say the electrolyzer technology, we are seeing many partnerships getting forged, many associations getting formed in order to produce electrolyzers here in India. And government of India has been very supportive in terms of bringing various incentivization schemes revolving around the production of electrolyzers as well as the production of green hydrogen molecule. And these schemes are actually going to catalyze the internal developments which are required, but it has to be supported by a very strong research and development programs, again on which government is working upon, and there have been few calls for the proposals to support the R&D programs. Having said that, it is a journey which all of us have to travel, and it's not a it's the changes are not going to happen overnight. It requires a very strong coordination amongst various policy making agencies, the ministries at the central government and the state governments, the independent power producers trying to link or divert their renewable energies for capacities for the production of green hydrogen molecule, the end consumers like various sectors which we discussed earlier. So it actually requires a complete ecosystem to be rebuilt and redrafted. As far as exports are concerned, we have to be very careful in terms of meeting the uh, net emission limits which have been set by various countries. in order to qualify the hydrogen molecule under the green belt. So those numbers are to be very carefully studied, and therefore there is a need for various stakeholders to come together and see that how they can join their hands and work in association with each other to make it a reality. We have we here in India are uh, addressing the one side of the hydrogen value chain, which is the availability of the renewable energy. Uh, in a water stressed country, we must not lose sight of the availability of water per se, and therefore we have to be very clear in terms of what are the water requirements going to be for the production of green hydrogen. And many people say that it is going to be very similar to the processes which we are already following for the production of hydrogen. But I would beg to differ from them on this aspect. Generally speaking, it's only the feedstock which is being considered as that we would require about 9 to 10 kgs of deionized water for the production of hydrogen. But if we go a little deeper into the technicalities of it, we would require a lot of water in order to extract the heat from the electrolyzers, depending upon what kind of electrolyzer technology we are using. And in order to meet those cooling requirements, we would have some kind of evaporative losses associated with the complete system if we are following a conventional practice of maintaining the heat balance of the complete plant, electrolyzer plant. So there comes the role of the engineering advisory and the kind of consultancies which are actually helping the global industry to take giant steps in these areas. And therefore there is a requirement for very harmonious integration of the joint efforts in terms of engineering and planning certain aspects around hydrogen. And that's what we are interested to support from ARUP's side, leveraging the kind of international experience which we have built upon over the period of years, working with multifaceted companies, leading organizations, and the policymakers across the globe to assist the Indian market to help them grow in either going for and realizing the dreams of green hydrogen, or maybe the derivatives of green hydrogen like green ammonia or green methanol, coming together and solving this entire puzzle as far as the energy basket is concerned.
I was actually going to come to ARUP's offering in the hydrogen space, and we'll talk about that in more detail. Before that, there's one more question. So if we come to, apart from the industrial usage of hydrogen, if we come to mobility specifically, I want to. So what we generally hear is that hydrogen may be viable for, let's say, heavier vehicles like long distance trucks and haulage, and not for the smaller, lighter vehicles. So I wanted to understand from you, in terms of technology readiness and viability, specifically for the mobility use case, what kind of applications do you see will be more favorable for hydrogen use?
Yeah, means absolutely correct. We have to see and compare hydrogen with the other energy systems, or the another other choices based on the constraints which other systems or other choices or other energy alternatives are having, and the advantages which hydrogen is going to bring on board. I normally give this example very often, that in the transportation sector, like we have never compared uh, the likes of the gasoline and the diesels in the existing transportation market, we should not be comparing hydrogen with so-called the battery technologies, for the transportation applications. When I say this, I assume that the role which gasoline has been playing currently over a period of years, I'm not saying that it is that the demand of gasoline or diesel is going to die very significantly here in this country, but over a period of years, and if I have to draw that analogy, the gasoline portion is going to be satiated by the batteries. And the role which diesel has been playing in this particular country, that would be taken care by the hydrogen. And when I say, and that's where you can figure out what are the kind of applications which would be more closer to hydrogen. You talked of the heavy duty vehicles. I would extend it further. The vehicles which require to be there on the road and require longer range, that would also be going towards the hydrogen basket. The vehicles that would require lower fueling time, or that want to be the availability for if you know the idea is to enhance the availability of the asset on the road. And I am particularly mentioning about the aggregators or the service providers like the taxi fleet operators who want their asset to be there on the road for 24/7, meeting the customer demand. So they would also be switching to hydrogen. For the simplest of the fact that the refueling of hydrogen doesn't require much time, and we can extract more range out of the vehicle between the two refueling cycles. So we can see many interventions in the shipping sector, in the aviation sector, in the railways, where electrification at some geographies or some locations is not possible. The long haul freight carriers, long haul transportation, long distance buses. All these sectors are going to be disrupted by hydrogen as the choice for providing and powering the motor.
Understood. Right. So can you also please tell us about ARUP's offerings globally in the hydrogen space, and also particularly your presence in India?
Absolutely. So ARUP is not a new name in the industry. It's a company which actually takes pride in getting its name associated with the world's oldest infrastructural projects across the globe. And I start from the Sydney's Opera House right up to the Statue of Unity here in India. So we take the pride in getting associated as a part of the teams at various levels to execute and plan these particular projects. But that is one dimension attached to it, but with a vision to build a very sustainable future. And you must agree with me that although we have been talking about energy, but per se, in order to realize our net zero goals and the circular economy roles, we see that all these sectors are going to converge, and that's where lies the strengths of ARUP. So with a vision of to build a sustainable and a resilient future backed by a strong technical advocacy. That's what has been the objective of ARUP. And primarily after COP26, the company decided that we are going to be in the space of renewable energy and the sustainable energy, and assist the clients in formulating the strategies, giving the technical advisory services, as well as the engineering services in planning certain aspects to take forward all kind of offerings in the alternative and renewable energy bracket. And that's where this kind of developments are happening across the globe, where we are strengthening our presence and we are providing to our clients all kind of solutions with respect to the sustainable energy solutions. So just to give you a couple of examples, we have been associated at the policy level, where we are assisting the the international governments to draft their strategy around green hydrogen. We are having multiple projects under our belt, working on the blending of hydrogen and natural gas in the existing infrastructure, laying down the fresh pipelines for or planning to or designing the layouts for planning the hydrogen pipelines, 100% hydrogen pipelines for transportation of hydrogen, balancing the renewable energy generation with the green hydrogen generation, addressing the safety aspects of it, planning the facilities for manufacturing of electrolyzers, optimizing the delivery schedules and all, taking forward the integration activities around the renewable energies coming from multiple pathways and then integrating them to produce green hydrogen. So it has been the focus areas for ARUP, and the best part is that we are able to leverage the strengths which we are having across the globe and present them in the form of a bouquet in a country like India, which is actually in the process of just beginning to take big decisions. The kind of activities which are being promoted by government of India, they do require strong engineering base to take forward to actually take a pole vaulting position from where currently the country is, the government sector in the form of policy making and advisory services.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope I'll speak to you again sometime for more updates.
Thank you very much, Priyachi, for this interaction.
Thank you.